Hi, my name is Maria, and I wanted to make a video about runner's dystonia and the lack of coordination that kind of comes with it with running. Um, so I want to make this video because when I was first kind of exploring that this might be something that I have going on, I could not find anything on the internet that sort of was a firsthand experience of what someone went through and maybe some tips or steps in the right direction of like what to do and how to find a way to keep running. Everything I had read about it was negative and depressing and yeah, just not very good. Of course, I did stumble across the famous Let's Run message board where it's like 65 pages of a 65-page thread on runner's dystonia and lack of coordination and similar type things. And, you can go and kind of find that and read all this stuff on there. But most of what I found was very negative and very made it feel like running was definitely over for me. So I guess to kind of start where sort of my story begins, it was September of 2020, and I was, it was kind of in the midst of COVID, but I was running and all that. And I'm a college professor. I teach chemistry, as you can see by the periodic table behind me. And so classes were online at that time. And I was still going to run every day after my classes were over with around like 3 or 4 in the afternoon. And I, one day, very randomly, was doing a 10-mile long run, and I noticed that on my right leg after the run was over, I had like a brush burn type thing. It was kind of like right here, sort of on the inside of my knee. And I realized it was because my left leg was smacking into it and rubbing the entire time on the run. So initially I did not think that this was a big deal. I figured maybe something's tight, maybe I need to do more glute activation, like something's not firing right. So I got a massage, and then that didn't really help. But I feel like sometimes with a massage, like it takes a couple days for me to feel the effects of it. So I, wasn't freaking out too much. And then, I was trying more like banded glute bridges and like all the things that you do to kind of do glute activation type, like stuff like that, clamshells, all that kind of thing. And I really didn't notice much of anything. And then over like the next week or so, it progressively got to a point where it felt like my left quad wasn't working, like it was super weak or something. And it felt like my knee was involuntarily like hyperextending, I guess. Like every time I'd land, my knee would like hyperextend, and I would like, my leg would like lock, like almost, I don't know. So here's a clip from me running from September of 2020, and I slowed it down so you can kind of see it. But my my left leg was landing like super straight compared to my right, and almost like feeling like it was hyperextending. I know it doesn't look like too much in this video, but it felt like you can kind of tell my left leg's like doing some weird stuff. Yeah. So it felt like I was flinging my leg forward, and my quad was unable to stop my left leg from like extending. Like, so it would kind of feel like it was hyperextending. And you can kind of see like my upper body is all kind of straight. Like I kind of arch my back more on the left too. So, yeah, there was a lot going on. It just felt terrible. And this was only like a couple seconds of running. But if I were to keep running, like I would not be able to keep any control in my left leg. Like I'd have to stop. This was only like 20 seconds of actually running. And so I have other clips, but this one I wanted to show. This was the very first one from when this first started, like right when it first started. And so, yeah, just wanted to be able to kind of show what that looked like at that particular point in time. So it was really concerning, especially going downhill was really bad. It just felt very weak. So I thought, in my Google searching that like it could be your vastus medialis, your VMO muscle. So I thought, well, maybe that muscle's tight, whatever. So I was like rolling it out. And like to the point I had bruises on my leg and it wasn't doing anything. It wasn't helping. So then the next thing I did, so this was like over the span of like maybe 2 or 3 weeks where I was like kind of doing all these things. I noticed, you know, it was much worse on pavement. It was much worse on the track, anywhere flat. It was also much worse if I tried to run slower versus faster. Around this time, I do remember I was doing like it was a workout or something on the track, and when I was running fast, it was like 6:30 pace or something. I could somewhat keep it together and feel like okay, I guess, not normal, but not that bad. But on the warm up or cool down, it was atrocious. Like my leg was flailing every which way. And I think it felt probably a lot worse than it looked. Like I don't think it actually looked that bad at that time. I mean, it definitely looked like something was wrong, but it felt very unstable. Like I thought I was going to tear an ACL or an MCL or some CL in my leg. I don't know. So around this time, I thought it was just like an injury of some kind. It didn't hurt, but I thought like maybe something's torn, maybe something's strained. I don't know. So I stopped running in late September of 2020. And I don't think I ran again until I think I tried running little bits around the winter or spring of 2021, like maybe February or something like that. Just like little bits of running here and there. So during that time, I took off completely. I started doing physical therapy, and it was like, it was more like the physical therapist was doing manual work. He kept saying that my psoas was really tight on my left side and my QL on my left side and stuff like that. So it wasn't really a lot of exercises. It was more just like I'd go and he'd like dig into my psoas or whatever. And he'd do like taping to my leg and stuff like that. And nothing helped. And I will say that this was probably the only period of time where I like took off completely because of this issue. And I will say that is the one thing that did make it worse, was not doing anything. Because I was like waiting for it to heal, like, which wasn't going to happen, but I didn't know that at the time. And I just rested it. I'd go to this physical therapist once a week, and he would work on it and work on the quad and everything like that. And none of that really helped, like at all. And then I started, so during this time, I kind of thought maybe runner's dystonia, but I really didn't think so. I thought that there must be something wrong with me. Like there must be something torn somewhere. So I went and saw so many doctors during this time. I'm just looking at my notes. So to summarize everything from like January of 2021 until May of 2021, I had a back MRI looking for nerve entrapments or something like that. I had 2 pelvis MRIs. I had an EMG nerve conduction test of my leg, and that was completely normal. They did it on both sides. So that's where they stick the needles in, and they look like they have you clench the muscle or activate the muscle, and they compare both sides, and like the nerve impulses were the same. I had, I had a cortisone injection into my left hip because I actually saw a surgeon, and they thought that maybe I have a labral tear, even though it's not really coming up on the MRI. I could have a labral tear, and that a diagnostic test that they recommended was to get a cortisone injection. If that improved things, then that is possibly what's going on. So I got that. I also got a cortisone injection into my psoas, the bursa, which was very painful. I got an MRI of my knee. I got an injection into my knee as well. It was like a lidocaine injection. None of those things helped. In fact, the hip injections actually made everything worse for a little while. I saw, obviously, chiropractor after many different chiropractors, massage therapists. I did like traditional physical therapy 3 different times with like 3 different physical therapists, and I did it for like weeks, like 6 to 10 weeks each time. so it's not like I did it once, nothing happened, I didn't go back. Like I really did try, because, you know, everyone was like, oh, you have a weak glute. Like that's what most of the doctors I had seen during that time said. I saw probably like 6 or 7 doctors during that time. So I feel like during this time was mainly eliminating things. Like it wasn't some major injury. I had x-rays too, and of like looking for stress fracture. I mean, I had like every test you can imagine. And none of that really helped. During this time, I was like trying to run. I would do like 30 seconds of running, a couple minutes of walking, and all that always had to be on like a trail or grass of some kind, which is pretty characteristic of runner's dystonia, because what I know now is that runner's dystonia is a very, it's a repetition kind of exacerbates it. So when you're running on pavement, it's like the same step over and over and over because it's flat and it's hard. And when you're on a trail or grass or whatever, every step is slightly different because it's slightly uneven. Hills, you know, if you're going slightly uphill, slightly downhill, whatever. So all those things like add variability, whereas pavement, track, that kind of thing does not. At some point in here, I'm going to insert a video that I took in September of 2020, and you can kind of see the hyperextending thing that I was talking about with the left leg. So all of this, you know, this whole first year of this going on, I would say was probably the worst part of it because I didn't know what it was. And even if it was runner's dystonia, that still didn't help because it felt very negative and like not like I could do anything about it. Like everything's like, oh, like, you know, you get Botox injections. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you could never run again. You could never walk again. Like all these negative things. And so I ventured into the territory of like very non-traditional things. So once I ruled out everything like medically, I did see a hypnotherapist at one point. Like I was very desperate. So this was in like May of 2021, like May, June of 2021. And that was not helpful at all. I mean, there's nothing wrong if that may be helpful to some people. That personally did not help me. It was a hypnotherapist that he was known for treating musicians' dystonia. He was a musician and suffered from dystonia. So that's why I sought him out. The one thing I did learn from that, though, is that dystonia can be exacerbated by stress and anxiety. And so, like, a lot of what he did was, like, to kind of reduce that. So I think that can be helpful for some people. I don't think it was necessarily the right thing for me. But that was something that I wanted to explore everything. So, and I wasn't really interested in the whole Botox thing. I just felt like... I don't know. I just felt like the risks kind of outweighed the potential benefits, but I think for some people, Botox does work great. I think it just depends what's affected by the dystonia, because Botox seems to work better for certain muscle groups versus others. So I think it just depends. I also played around with shoes I was wearing. So at that time, leading up to this, I always wore the Asics Kayano with... the green Superfeet inserts inside. So like it was very stable and very little awareness of the ground under my foot in the shoe. And I ran in those for like very long time, like probably 10 years. I wore that mix of insert and shoe. So one thing I played around with was trying different shoes to see if that helped. I tried Hoka's for a while. I hated them. They actually made things worse for me. But one shoe that did help me for a little while was Newton, the Newton brand running shoes. So they are running shoes that are designed to make you run on your forefoot. And I did find that they helped a little bit. More than anything else that I had tried up until that first year. Anything I had tried up until that point, that was probably the most helpful thing. Just because I think it changed the way that I was running. And so... in my search for, I don't know, I was Googling like the weirdest combination of terms because I was like, I don't know how to find what's wrong with me. And that led me to stumble across somebody's YouTube site. His name is Neil Hallinan, and he is a postural restoration physical therapist based in New Jersey. And he had a video that was talking about the left AIC pattern. So if you don't know what that is, you can like look up postural restoration and you can read all about it on their website. But when he was describing like what it feels like to be in that pattern, it kind of felt like how I feel when I'm running. So like when I would tell physical therapists, doctors, whatever, you know, what it felt like when I was running, it felt like if you're running and you accidentally step in a pothole that you didn't know was there, and like your leg kind of like jolts, like and kind of like buckles, I guess. I don't know how to describe it, but that's how it felt. And my left foot would always scuff on the ground all the time. So anyways, in his video, he was describing something just like that. And I was like, I never heard anyone else describe anything that same way before. So I ended up like going down this rabbit hole, looking at all his videos and like trying to replicate the postural restoration exercises on my own, which I realize now I was not doing them right, but I thought I was. And so I was like, oh, this isn't working. Like, this is stupid. I don't want to do this anymore. But then I thought, you know, in his videos, he talks a lot about like the importance of working with an actual therapist. So I live in Pennsylvania, and I looked up if there was anyone in my area, and there was somebody about an hour away, but this was still like heavy duty into COVID time. And so I didn't really pursue it at that time because like I think you had to work like virtually with them. And then I was doing more searching, and I found postural restoration. One of the, so it's based out of Lincoln, Nebraska. So one of the main therapists there also teaches some of the courses, and her name is Lori Thompson. And she put out like it was just like a, I forget what it was. It was like tips for runners or something like that. And I was like, oh, this woman seems like obviously to be the expert in running and postural restoration. So I reached out to her, and she actually did get back to me, which I wasn't expecting, but she got back to me, and I actually worked with her virtually. So she's located in Nebraska, and I worked with her virtually a couple of times, maybe 4 or 5 times. And she was amazing. Like, she was really, really good. And she gave me exercises to do. And at that time, so this was like spring of 2021. At that time, I did not notice a difference, but being that she was working with me virtually and how specific these exercises need to be, I don't think I was probably doing them right. Like, I don't think I was like feeling them in the right places. Like, I'm sure, oh, Jesus. I'm sure I wasn't doing them correctly. So I don't blame that on her. I think that was just me. So because of that, I was like, oh, maybe this isn't the right thing for me. So then I ventured down many other things, trying, you know, physical therapy again at like a really prestigious place that's known for being really good with running and all that. And that did not help because that's not what I needed. And I eventually revisited the postural restoration thing in March of 2022. I don't even remember how that happened. I was like, I think I was like reading more about it, and I was watching more of videos that I saw on YouTube, and I was like, I really want to give this a shot. Like, I actually want to work with someone in person because I think that that would be more helpful so they can evaluate me. So I reached out to the person in Pennsylvania that's an hour away from me. And at that point, because it was 2022 at that point, they were seeing patients in person, obviously still wearing a mask and all that, but yeah, seeing people in person. So I filled out all the paperwork, and I remember distinctly on the form that you had to fill out, there was like a section that was like, you know, like you answer all these questions, but then there was a section that was like, is there anything else that you would like to share about the symptoms that you're having or something like that? And I just wrote, please help me. I don't know. I can't even imagine what the guy thought when he saw that, but that's what I wrote on there because I was so desperate at this point. I was still trying to run, but by run, I just mean I was like running a minute, walking a minute, running 30 seconds, walking a minute. Like, it was just something to get outside, I guess, which honestly, that I still felt better doing that than doing nothing. Doing nothing was by far the worst thing. So I started working with him in March 2022, and I think what I'll do is I'll make another video about like that portion of it, like actually sticking with it, because it's October of 2023 right now, and I still go I would say monthly, every 3 weeks, something like that. and get, you know, tested by him, and like maybe I need an update to my exercises and things like that. So I think I might do a whole separate video on what that has been like, and what that has done, and what I think, why I think that's helping me. And then kind of like where I'm at now, because I don't want to make this like a super long video, but that's just kind of where it started for me. It took me a very long time to find the right person to help, because, well, I think COVID impacted that a lot because everything was shut down. So that like delayed everything a bit. And I don't know. My anxiety was just so high during that time too, because like I couldn't run, which like I run to be competitive, but I also run, I think, you know, for stress relief and things like that. Like that's always like how I relieve anxiety and stuff like that. So I couldn't do that. But then there was the added anxiety of like not knowing why I can't run, and not knowing if there will ever be an end to it, or if I'll ever be able to run again. Like all, like obviously that can spiral so to a deep dark place. And so I feel like that is kind of what happened to me during that time. So that is kind of the beginning part of everything, how it started, and just the journey of finding the right person, which might be different for everybody. I know, like, you know, some people do have good experience with Botox and all of that. So that might be a journey that you would have to take on your own to find out like where, you know, where you would end up. But yeah, so that's just, I guess I'll end it there. And if you want to see a part 2 of where I'm at now, or the postural restoration stuff, yeah, leave a comment down below and I'll be sure to record one. Thank you.